Thank you for listening to the Golden Hour Drip podcast with me, Logan Lee Miller. Enjoy the show. How are we feeling the first of the year? Come on, is 2024 coming out with a bang for you? Or is it more of touch and go, or just trying to feel it out and not have super huge expectations and then completely get run over by a truck with the expectations? Personally, for me, I'm feeling it out. I'm okay, first week going so good, and it makes it better that I had the Monday off, January 1st. So I was able to kind of recalibrate. I took a bit of a pause. I really needed it. And I saw something on social media that was someone was saying that they had low energy or whatever. And the creator framed it of are you treating winter like it's your summer? Are you going like it's summer? Or are you actually doing winter how winter does it, right? The trees go into their dormant state, a lot of animals go into hibernation, and it's more this restful planning period. And I would say to an extent, I'm using winter as a planning period of a recalibration period. And for mid-Missouri, we still have winter to go through, right? We have a full January, February, and March that's going to be cold, that is going to potentially get snow. And I have been sleeping a lot more, right? I've been focused on getting my X amount of hours. I always try to get 7 or 8 hours. I think it's really important for me to sleep when I'm able to sleep. And it's number one top priority for me personally. And I know come summertime, I'm going to be not sleeping as late, if you will. Right now I am at a 7 o'clock wake up, 7:30, sometimes 6:30 wake up, but I'm treating winter like it's winter, right? And in years prior, my New Year's has just been so fast and so adamant on so many things. And this year I'm you know what? We're gonna let it come to me, okay? I'm attracting the things that are meant for me, and the things that shouldn't be in my life are gonna slowly fall away. With that being said, I do have some expectations for myself, right? Just because it's winter doesn't mean that we aren't following along with our goals and aspirations. It just might be at a slower pace than spring and summertime. I definitely want to emphasize that I don't like hustle girl culture, right? I don't want to hustle. I think a healthy balance is great. But with that balance, that does not mean that we aren't working hard, that we aren't implementing some of our plans, right? And my podcast is coming up on 4 years in February. Four full years of podcasting. And I have learned so much in the last 4 years, right? It's insane how quickly it has passed, and how I have just really developed in different ways as a speaker and as a, editor of my podcast and YouTube and all the things. And one of my intentions for the upcoming year is specifically for my Friday episodes. So last February, I reintroduced shorter episodes again. I had done this in 2021, I think. I had done some Friday episodes. It was a lot of fun. And then I stopped doing Friday episodes. This was when I first got my big girl job, and I felt overwhelmed. I didn't have the tools or the tactics to take on the full-time work and 2 episodes a day and all these other pressures that I had for myself. And it wasn't until this past year that I wanted to reintroduce the 2 episodes a week. I have mixed emotions about them, always, right? Should I be producing 2 episodes a week, or should I be focusing more on producing my Monday episodes? If you love the Friday episodes, please let me know. I think that the shorter episodes are so much fun, but I also enjoy the long form content of a Monday episode too. I like to consume my content. This is why I like audiobooks, because it's 8 hours of someone talking. So let me know what you prefer. But for my Friday episodes, And honestly, as a whole for the podcast, we really haven't had that many guests on the podcast. One, it's lack of planning on my part. Coordinating to have a guest on the podcast comes with extra work. I can't just sit down and record whenever I want. I now have to coordinate someone else's schedule. I have to make sure that they're a good fit for the podcast because I want it to be good entertainment for you. And I had a couple guests on like this past fall. That was fun. While I enjoy talking to myself all the time, I also enjoy having a guest on every once in a while. And so my vision for the Friday episodes is to combine guests and to also combine my passion project, my social club, the Golden Gal Network. I know you've heard me talk about this several times, but I am wanting to develop community outside of social media, right? We spend so much time on social media, but there is something unmatched about meeting someone in person, to be able to give that person a hug or a handshake, see their expressions, and an unedited real life version of a person and a friend. And it has really inspired me to create the Golden Gal Network, to meet up with friends in real life, to have it somewhat coordinated. So the effort of, oh my gosh, like we have to plan this, we have to make sure everyone's schedule aligned. I know for my friends, like it's hard to get everyone on the same page. A lot of my friends are in different areas. They've moved, they started new careers, new jobs, and it isn't like college or it isn't like high school anymore. And this kind of takes the pressure off of you to having to like pre-plan. You can just come to a meetup when it works for your schedule and when it doesn't. But I want to have girls that I meet in the network on the podcast, because everyone has such like a cool life story and the things that they're struggling on, and I can only share what I know, right? And if I can help someone else share their story or share what they're going through, it might be a different perspective for my listeners, and they can take what they need and get what they, are looking for in this podcast. So I would love to have gals in the network. I would love to have business owners that I connect with, and too, because with the Golden Gal Network, I have been hosting it at people's place of business, right? Like I love supporting someone else's dreams. This Saturday, January 6th, depending on when you're listening to this episode, we are having a yoga and dream journaling event. And one of the gals who is helping me host it is a yoga or a yogi, I guess, and she was put in connection with me with one of the followers for the Golden Gal Network, right? And so it's like this loose tie that brought me to Erin, and now we're hosting an event together. So I love being able to connect with other people, with other people's dreams, and it just seems like a really easy transition and a good fit, right? I love alignment. And so I would love to have podcast guests on who are in my community, like the real average girl, just like you and me, and also business owners, people we aspire to look to, who have accomplished something that we've wanted to accomplish. I love having those on as well. Hey, I hope that you're enjoying today's podcast episode. Just a quick interruption to let you know that Golden Hour Drip has a weekly newsletter that comes out. This has bonus content, weekly updates, and future event information. If you haven't already, go down to the show notes, click the link, and join today. Now, back to the show. So we're combining the network, the Golden Gal Network, in this way. We are getting guests on, and then the third aspect of the Friday episode is to have listener questions brought in. So if you have something that you're struggling with, right? Like if you have a certain point of view that you're needing help with, if you have, relationship problems or career problems or anything that you need a second opinion. Sometimes the people in our close community or close relationship, right? Like the people we spend the most of our time with, they might be biased. They have their own, ideas of every time you talk about your boyfriend, they have this like idea of your boyfriend in their head. And so if he does something that might be borderline, like you don't know which way to go, they're gonna say, yes, immediately dump him. Or they might say, no, you should stick with him. He's so sweet, he's so nice. You need that outsider perspective. You need someone else to be able to dissect the situation without getting too involved, right? That's where the gals come in. So Ask the Gals is going to be the Friday segment. Sometimes it's going to be a solo episode. It's just me talking about viewer questions. Other times we're going to have a guest on. If you want to remain anonymous, completely fine. I would also love to remain anonymous when I'm asking like a question, right? So it can be anonymous. If you want a little shout out, leave your name. But in the show notes down below, you can find the link to the Google form. If you're listening on YouTube, go to my social media pages. You can find it there, or the audio version of this podcast, and you can, submit your questions. Or they can be random questions. It doesn't have to be something that is going on in your life. If there is a question that you've been dying to know, maybe my point of view or my guest's point of view on something, hey, random, anything, any questions, I would love to answer. And I just want to bring more fun into the podcast. While I love the mindset of always bettering yourself and always going to the next goal and trying to reach that highest version of yourself, I also think that what makes life so amazing is we're all human, right? Like, lofty goals are so important to reach, but sometimes we need perspective on the things that we're struggling with so that we can achieve that higher self, that next level. And I would love to just assist with that. So if you have any questions, if you have something in your life that you need clarity on, if you have a random question that you would love to ask, like I said, go into the show notes, find the link, submit your questions, and every Friday is going to be Ask the Gals. Sometimes it's solo, sometimes the gals is just going to be me, but together we can, bring some perspective into different questions. So this week I have 2 questions. I did ask like some of my close friends, I was like, please give me a question or 2 for this upcoming week, so that I have something to do for our very first Ask the Gals episode for Friday, right? So the 2 questions I have, the first one, how can you stand out from a crowd? So this friend was asking from the perspective of she is going into a new job, first of the year, new job, and she doesn't know how she can stand out from like her colleagues. That's how she framed it to me anyways. So for me personally, I think your attitude and your energy is the number one most important thing. And energy goes with how you hold yourself, right? It's what's eluded from you. Are you confident? Are you sure of your words? Are you dressed properly, right? Like whatever job you're going into, whatever situation you're going into, whether it's like a bar, right? Like if you're going into a bar, it's no longer the 2010s. You're not going to wear like a blazer to a bar with some pumps, I don't know. But dressing the part can help so much, and that can bring like this positive, good energy into light, so then you are ready to tackle on whatever you're trying for. But also just like a positive energy and a smile can be so like magnetic when you can just hold yourself in a way that is inviting. I think sometimes when we get in those awkward social situations, it's easy to like press yourself up against the wall and be like, oh gosh, like I don't want to make the first move, or you're feeling a little socially insecure. That can, I know it's like a default, right? Like you can't help but do it. But when you do this, you're shutting the world off from being able to come up to you and say hello, or even if you say hello to the person, if you're the first one to invoke in that conversation. Those are my 2 ways that I always try to embody so that I'm standing out, right? Like positive attitude, and I'm dressed for success. And when I'm dressed in something that makes me feel good and makes me feel confident, I know my energy is going to come out even more. I know that when I spend a little bit of extra time on my hair or my blush or my makeup or whatever, I'm going to be so vibrant, someone cannot say no to me. And if they say no, or I'm really sorry, like this isn't the right fit, I know that they will keep me in mind if something does come up in the future. So that's how I stand out in a crowd. It's your energy, it's your way of being. And the thing about confidence is nobody can tell if it's real or not. Nobody can tell if you're faking it. If you just continue to try and practice and fake it, you will start to feel more confident. Educating yourself on the matter makes me always feel more confident when I feel like I can speak on the matter. So if you need to read a book, if you need to listen to a podcast to feel the most confidence, then do that. But in reality, nobody is going to notice if you actually aren't confident and if you're faking it. So you can take that with a grain of salt as you try and stand out from the crowd. The second question is, what last made you laugh until you cried? Personally, I don't know. I've been watching a lot of like shows on my iPad as I'm like walking on the treadmill, trying to get those steps in. I was slacking for a little bit, but I'm trying to, get that 8,000 to 10,000 steps every day. And I've been watching like a lot of shows that aren't really like laugh till you cry situation. It's more like reality TV. But I will tell you, the last thing that made me sob was oh my gosh, Jamie Kern Lima has a book, Believe It. Okay, it's not her new book coming out, You Are Worthy or Worthy. I did pre-order that book. I think it comes out February 20th or something like that. But her last book, Believe It, I started listening to that on Audible, and Jamie's voice is literally like so wholesome and also just inviting. I swear, like the first couple pages, I don't know pages because she's reading, right? First 10 minutes, she's like talking and she's saying, come into my home, this is an intimate book. I'm going to be talking to you as a friend. So you can come as you are. You can wear your pajama bottoms. We can eat cookie dough. Or if you want to bake a cookie, I can bake you cookies, or all of these things. And I was literally like sobbing. I was like, that is so sweet. Like she just has such an inviting voice. If you've never read Believe It, hey, maybe try the audiobook because it was just, I sobbed. There was so many times where I was like trying to get ready and tears were like streaming down my face, and I was like, I've got to pause this. Like I cannot continue to listen or I'm not going to be ready for the day because I'm just going to want to cry and cry and cry. So if you need a good book that is touching, that is motivating, that is inspiring, Believe It? Yes, Believe It. I'm trying not to mix up with her upcoming book that is coming out. But Jamie Kern Lima, if you didn't know, she is the founder of It Cosmetics. She is like the #1 luxury cosmetic brand. She sold her cosmetics line to L'Oreal for $1.2 billion. So she has like a lot to say, a lot of amazing good things, and she is so down to earth and just so relatable, and not in a cringy, relatable, like, no, like really and truly just so inspiring, so kind, so sweet. I loved her book and I sobbed. So I don't know, something that has made me laugh so much that I cried, a book, TV show, or whatever, but just cry. Definitely Jamie Kern Lima's Believe It book. It was so good. So those are my questions for this week. And if you want to hear more questions, right, please submit the questions, because in order for my Friday episodes to work, I need some listener feedback. I need you to ask me the questions so that I can, chat with you, chat with a friend. Next week, we are going to have a guest on the podcast. So send me any questions that you have. It could be something simple like these. It could be your POV questions. Hey, I'm struggling with XYZ. I don't know what's going on. I don't know what's happening. But please submit them. You can submit them on the Google form, right? Google form. That's linked down below. You can DM me on Instagram. My personal is Logan Lee Miller. The podcast is at Golden Hour Drip. You can also comment down below on this YouTube. You can, type it up and say, hey, like I have a question on this. I would love to hear it, okay? Any interaction I will be so happy for as we try and get this segment off the ground. I hope that you think this is a great idea. I think it's a great idea. I think it's gonna bridge a lot of gaps that I'm wanting to bridge, and I'm so excited. Like I just think a good podcast is always evolving and it's always trying to make itself better. If you have any suggestions on what you would like to hear from the podcast, what you'd like to hear from me, please let me know. It is the new year and we're celebrating 4 years in February. So I want to know all the feedback and I just want to serve you in the best way possible. So thank you so much for listening to today's episode. I really appreciate it and I hope to see you in the next one. Bye.